Okay, so I wanted to walk you through Google Sheets. It's going to be a really short video. You access Google Sheets, of course, through your drive here. You want to go wherever you want to create the sheet. So if you wanted to create it inside Veritas, I'm just going to create it inside Veritas here. New Google Sheets. This will open up for you. And just like a Word document, you're going to want to rename it. So untitled spreadsheet here, I'm just going to put a test sheet. Okay. Depending on what you're using Google Sheets for, you might want to get rid of a lot of these excess columns and excess rows. Often I'll be building when I teach the kids how to use Sheets in the beginning, I don't teach them all the advanced mathematical functions. In fact, I don't really teach them any functionality besides design and organization. So I'm going to start you off there with this video as well. Let's say I just wanted this sheet to have a names column and a function column, or a we'll say it's a yeah, we'll go with function. Okay, and let's say the names I have student 1, student 2, student 3. Let's see if that will, and Google Drive is smart, so I was able to say, okay, well, I'm going to keep doing that over and over again. Maybe I'm going to have a whole bunch of students, so I can just grab one, and it understands what I'm doing. If I went from student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it understands that I'm going to keep going, and I can just grab that little box and keep going. And function here, I can do different functions, so we can have a cleaner, whiteboard, and again, I use these for all sorts of different purposes. So let's say we're organizing a classroom list of who is going to do what job. So we have a sweeper, we have trash, we have tables, and we have chairs. And that's probably, we'll say we have 6 students, so we can get rid of the rest of those. And we're back here. Now, if this is all we're using, it seems like that all of these extra columns are a waste of space, and all of these extra rows are a waste of space. So one thing I like to do is clean this up and organize this. So I'm going to grab C, I'm going to hold Shift and Control, and I'm going to press my right arrow key. What that's going to do is grab all of the rest of the columns. Okay, so now I'm using, I'm just showing you that I grabbed all of the rest of those columns. Now I can right click and go to delete columns C through Z. You delete all that. Now I don't need row 8 through like 1,000, or there's tons of rows. So I'm going to do the same thing, Shift and Control, down, and not over this time, not over to the right, but down to grab all of those extra rows. And I'm going to go to delete rows 8 through 1,000. That leaves me with this little nugget here. And then I can format this. So I can, maybe make a little more space between these two. I can grab all of these at once and make them all a little bit bigger. Maybe I want to make all my text to be centered, like this, which is Control-Shift-E. And maybe I want them all to be in the middle of the cell, which can be either top or middle or bottom, can be controlled right there. These two little gray bars are really, really important. If I bring this gray bar down here, let's add 10 more rows, and I'm going to add all those students. Now, since I dragged this gray bar down, notice that as I scroll down here, now I'm using my roll bar to scroll down, this is always, it's stuck at the top. So I'm always going to see 1. In fact, I'm going to change this to bright green just so you really see what I'm talking about here. I can scroll up and down, and 1, because I moved this little bar, I moved that little bar down below, it made this my my header bar, so I will always see that. It'll be stuck at the top. I can do the same thing with this bar to the side if I had a whole bunch of columns. And let's say I had function. Let's add a column to the left. We'll do age, and maybe I'm getting information about my students here. Maybe I'll do favorite food. Let me add a few more. I'm going to insert one to the left here. We'll do birthday, things like this. Insert another one. Test score. Insert one more. We'll do grade. Okay. So now, if I scroll, to scroll from left to right, you hold shift and use your scroll bar. So without shift, that's going to go up and down, just like this. And I'm going to select a cell so you can see me scrolling here. That's me scrolling up and down with my mouse. But to scroll from left to right, it's with you hold shift and do the same thing. And now I'm scrolling left to right. And because I brought this bar over here, I can always see the student name next to the information. So if this is an 8th grader with a 100 test score, whose birthday is on 1/1, it's going to auto do 15, I believe. Yep. It's smart, right? It knows that 1-1 is a date. Favorite food is pizza. Age is 12, let's say. I know that it doesn't add up with the birthday, that's fine. And their function is a cleaner. Well, now if I'm scrolling over and I say the birthday is 1/1/05, I still see what student it is, and that's why that's useful. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but hopefully you guys see that function is very useful. Now you can, so this is, I use this all the time to organize. In fact, let me go into my Veritas here. I'll go to past years. When I first had a Veritas, I did some stuff in my tech class where I had class info. So I made these and I let all the kids actually update this. So they all had access to this and they typed in this stuff. So I just got a little information for them, like their favorite verse, their favorite food, favorite movie, favorite color, all of these different things. So you can have some fun with sheets in that way, and this is appropriate even for 3rd and 4th graders, just to get started using Google Sheets without any of the complicated math functions, but just using it as an organizational tool. Now that we've done that, let's do some math function stuff. In fact, I'm going to show you one thing that I've set up for my math class, which I use this all the time for grades. So I have some students entered in, and what I would do is this would be homework, let's say lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, and lesson 5, and this is test 1. And I've already programmed this sheet, so I'm going to sort of reverse engineer how I use this, and I'm using things like sum for these different cells, and I'm using things like the mean, like the average, which is sum divided by the number of cells. So I'll show you how to program things like that. But this is a really powerful way for me to grade. So let's say I have these different students and I say, well, homework 1, Esteban got a 90 and Jacob got a... Now notice things are changing automatically and that color is disappearing. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. But it helps me as a teacher know where I'm at. So let's say we're just going to do one student. Esteban on homework 1 got a 90. On homework 2 he got a 60, we'll say. On homework 3 he got a 100. And then he got another 100. And then he got a 80. Well, right away I know that his mean on all the tests, on all the homeworks was at 86. That was his average. If I fill in a bunch of other scores for people, in fact, I'll just go through here and fill in. Now I split it up with my boys and my girls so I could keep track grading easily. I had my girls down here and I had my boys up here. I'm just entering in random grades here. But now let me enter in a 0 and see what a 0 does. See how that 0 is bright red. Now why do I have that? That 0 is bright red because I've formatted this thing to highlight, basically to yell at me that, hey, somebody hasn't turned in an assignment. Somebody owes me work. So that bright red spot is what lets me know, hey, I need to go to Zava and get lesson 2 from her, or I need to go to Jacob and get lesson 3 from him. So I've formatted that. The way I do that is you grab all of it with Control A, you grab your whole sheet, you go to Format, Conditional Formatting, and it will show you over here, I have several rules. So I'm going to walk you through some of these rules over here. For yellow, if text is exactly an X. Now I used to have an X system, so just to explain this real fast, if they got a perfect score, I'd give them a strike. And so that's why this X up here. And now I changed my system, so we can ignore that for now. I'm not really using that one anymore. Oh, let me go back to conditional formatting. Now the blue, if text is exactly a spare, again, we can ignore that one because I've since I've changed that as well. So those two we're going to ignore for now. In fact, these blue ones, I just colored them blue. But now these three, actually, I'm going to erase this rule. I'm going to erase this rule, and I'm going to erase this rule because I don't need those. I don't use them anymore, and I don't use this rule either, or that rule. Okay, just one rule to make this simple. I programmed a bunch of different rules as I was going, but for our purposes, I'm just going to show you this one. If text is exactly 0, color the cell red. So anytime I enter in a 0, now to add a new rule, let's say I wanted to say, well, what if text was 100? What if I wanted to reward those people? So if text is exactly 100, what if I wanted to color it bright pink? And that would be a way to reward those people, maybe, who are bright yellow here. So that's how you change and add a rule. You can also do if text is greater than 80. Now, if text is greater than 80, that means they're in a B or an A range, I can color it to yellow. Again, that could be useful. You can see quickly how many B's and A's you have visually, and it's sort of just a way it's a fun way to sort of manipulate your data. Okay, so for now, I'm going to cancel that rule and come out of it. Now let's talk about the functions, and these are things that I do teach the kids. I would say 5th and 6th graders are ready for most of these, and then we'll talk about some more advanced ones with the 7th and 8th graders. The one that I did first was anytime you want to do a function, just like Excel, you start out by hitting equals. So if I wanted this bottom cell here to be the average of all of these cells, what I would do is, well, first, what if I wanted it to just be the sum? I'd hit equals, SUM. Now and then I start my parentheses, and I can grab my cells from this one, hold Shift to this one. So I held Shift while I clicked, so it selected all of them. Now I can end my parentheses and hit Enter. So it's gonna that just summed it. That's 840. That's all of these scores added up. To find an average, of course, you divide that by, in this case, I think I have 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So divide by 11. When I hit Enter, my average for that homework assignment is a 76. It kind of gives me an idea. It helps me to see, oh, people are needing more help on this lesson. The average kind of came through pretty low. Now, RenWeb has a similar function, so you can do that in RenWeb as well. I like my sheets. I use my sheets, and then I just enter in my grades at RenWeb at the very end. So however you want to do it, but I tend to find these sheets a lot more useful. So just like a Microsoft Excel sheet, you can enter in equations with the equal sign. You can link cells. You can do all sorts of stuff like that. I teach the kids in 5th and 6th grade. I teach them, in fact, let me go and see if I can find a good one for you here. We'll go to Tech. Charlie and Company is a good one that we did. Actually, let me find the better one. Dirt balls, I think. Okay, here we go. So we were doing Gospel for Asian. This was the tech lesson we did. we built this sheet and we said, okay, how can we use Google Sheets to make our business more efficient? Well, our product was dirt balls, which are dirt cake balls. And these were the ingredients that we needed. We needed Oreos, Cool Whip, all this stuff. We needed a bowl and a spatula. Oreos, we needed 2 units. Each unit was priced at $2. So price per batch, because this was just math, this cell equals B2 times C2. So we can easily format these things to do all the math for us. So in this case, and then amount of dirt balls each batch makes should be 50, and that will give us the cost per dirt ball of that item. For Oreos, 8 cents per dirt ball, and then we can add all of those up to get our total cost per dirt ball at 49 cents. So then when we were figuring out our price, we would enter in what we're going to sell them at, let's say 75 cents. And I want this formatting to be the same as this, so I'm going to grab that. Okay, and now I'm going to say, well, my profit is going to be equal to, my profit per dirt ball is going to be equal to my price minus my cost, 26 cents. And again, I'm going to use that formatting tool to make it all look the same. And this was an experiment we did. I was sort of teaching the kids how they could use sheets. And the cool thing about this is, of course, if something changes, your sheets are all set up. So if I come in and I say, oh, cream cheese just went up to $5, well, all I have to do, instead of doing all my calculations and figuring all that math out, I just enter my $5 here, and voila, it changes everywhere. Everything updates, and it changes because all of these sheets are linked. So the main function I teach our kids 5th through 8th grade is linking sheets so that they can build intelligent and efficient devices for things like planning. And there are tons of more tools. There are tons of more equations. I have them go through. You can filter here. Let's say I wanted to filter my price. I would go here and add a filter, create new filter, and I can do it from A to Z. And then that would, now I've messed up some things because they're linked. But just to give you an idea, that's how you would do that. And yeah, so the main thing I use with 5th through 8th graders is just linking cells and doing a sort of complicated algebra quickly using sheets. Of course, you can do much cooler stuff. You can do insert charts. You know, you can take data and you can, let's see here, we can go to data validation. We can do, I think we can do insert a chart. Let's insert a chart here, and it will show you sort of different ways you can visualize your data. So it does have a whole bunch of, and you have scatter plots and pie graphs, right? So you can do all of this, and you can go in and name things. So if I wanted to go in and name, let's see how I would name that chart title here. Maybe I have to insert it first, or customize. Maybe that's what I'm doing. There we go. Customize chart title, dirt balls, and things like that, right? So we can, there's a whole bunch of cool things, and you can edit this. I can edit this area here. So there's a whole bunch of cool things. Change the colors, whatever you want to do. A whole bunch of cool things you can do with sheets. It's definitely powerful. The benefits of Drive, of course, are awesome because you can, it constantly saves, all changes saved in Drive. I never have to hit save, and you can share documents and stuff like that. So hopefully this intro to Sheets has been fruitful, and if you have any questions, please let me know. And make sure to watch Google Slides as well, and I've made one for Google Docs. So God bless you.